Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand. It is middle of May, and we just had Mother's Day behind us, right?
Yeah, getting into June here. Unbelievable. Summer.
Summer is here. Still haven't hopped in the pool yet. It's still a little too chilly for that, but we'll get there.
You know, New England. Takes a while.
It does take a while.
Yeah. And you've had a couple of graduates, huh?
We do. We have two of the kids graduated this past week. Corey graduated from Babson, and Noah graduated with a master's in something, I don't know, biomedical engineering from Boston University.
Not your specialty?
Not my specialty at all, but one of the best things is, for us, all 5 kids have now graduated college, and no one lives at home.
And they all have jobs.
They all have jobs. They have an apartment.
Yes.
They're all moving out. It's
that empty nest thing.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I don't think so at all.
And I get so excited when they come to visit, also excited when they leave. They're excited to come and visit, and they're excited to leave as well. So it's mutual, but it's great. And so we're all very happy.
So now you're making new memories with the kids.
We do. Some of the kids have boyfriends, girlfriends. We go off. It's really kind of cool. All the kids are in their 20s now, and going out for dinner is just a pleasure. I mean, no one's fighting over who's going to sit next to whom. There's people, they all know how to use silverware properly. They can all order on their own.
They can have a discussion.
Decent conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I will tell you the dinner is more expensive because there's no more kids' menus anymore.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't one of your kids always order off the...
Alana used to love ordering off the children's menu because her favorite thing is macaroni and cheese and chicken fingers. But what's really interesting is she loves ordering off the kids' menu, but she's a server at Smith & Wollensky, a high-end steakhouse.
There you go.
But you'll find her usually in the kitchen eating chicken fingers and macaroni and cheese because they always have that on the kids' menu there anyways.
There's a certain amount of, comfort in that, I think.
There is.
Definite comfort food.
There absolutely is. Well, a few weeks ago we were talking here with you about how not to get too stressed out about the market dropping and all of the changes that we were hearing in the news and how media and headlines can really impact our own personal psychological state, and not to mention the circles of friends with whom we hang out.
Absolutely.
And so here we are now, almost back. Well, we're certainly ahead of where we were at the beginning of the year. The market's now positive. Well, as of today, the market's positive, and I think today is what, May 15th?
Today is May 15th, yes.
May 15th, market's positive today. Yet it's
positive for the year.
Yeah.
And which is a big step.
Big step. But what's really interesting to me is that we had a client in yesterday in the office, and they were complaining to me about how the market has tanked. And first of all, I think tank is an incredibly extreme word. Yet, even more so, is they had no idea that their accounts had actually rebounded back considerably. They were just assuming that their account was down based upon the headlines and the news they hear.
So, and there was a time in early May where the market was down, or certain segments of the market, like the tech segment, was hit really hard, and it was down something like 16%. Which is extraordinary. I mean, that was a big drop in a very short amount of time.
I think it was in April, not in May.
April, sorry.
April, yeah.
And it has recovered all of that, which is remarkable. Yes, exactly.
Look, when we're investing with our clients, when we're building portfolios for you, we don't build the portfolio for what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks, 6 months, or even the next year or two. These portfolios,
nobody knows.
Right. No, anything can happen.
Right.
And markets move on the most stupid of reasons. and they're illogical. And when there's a bunch of different stupid or illogical things, the market doesn't like that even more, and that creates uncertainty. And so the market wobbles. You're always going to have that. But when we
Right.
pick points in time, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it really didn't matter when you got in or when, or when you decided to buy, whether you dollar cost average, put money in. If you're looking for the long term, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't, not at all. There have been numerous studies done on this. And the biggest concern that we have for our clients is that they leave their money as is invested in down times, because it's only if you take it out that you've now lost money.
But Marion, this time it's different.
Yeah. Well, we've heard that, haven't we? So let's see.
All the
2000. So I started in 2000. We had the tech drop.
Mm-hmm.
That time it was different. You know that.
Of course.
And it recovered completely. Oh, we had 9/11. That was that. And again, I mean, this was a horrible, horrible incident that happened on 9/11 with the planes going into the World Trade Center, and yet we recovered. In 2008, we had the financial crisis. We recovered. So each time, everyone said, oh, this is different, this is different, this is different. COVID, this is different. And they were all different incidents, but we recovered from each and every one of them.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was talking with someone who was concerned about the state of the country, the state of the world, the state of the market, based upon primarily the leadership that's in place here in America these days. And a lot of what's going on with look, there's a lot of statements that are made that might make your stomach twist when the leadership makes some of these comments or makes some of these decisions. But there is, I believe, a longer term strategy here, what the leadership is trying to accomplish. It may not be the most traditional approach, for sure, but it's an approach. And so I said, well, and they said, well, this is the end of democracy. We're setting ourselves up for World War III. And I said, that's what they were justifying. Is this what makes it different? I said, well, I look at COVID, and no one knew COVID was coming. And all of a sudden, in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, everyone had to go home.
The
You couldn't
country
go to work.
essentially shut down.
Right. You couldn't go to the mall. You couldn't go to a supermarket. You couldn't go to a restaurant. You couldn't go to a funeral or a wedding or a bar mitzvah
Or visit your relatives in the hospital.
You couldn't even visit them, right?
Right.
You could do nothing. You were just
Isolated.
to your own home.
Right.
And nobody knew how we were going to get out of it. And the market fell 35% rather quickly. I would argue that that was probably one of the most challenging periods of time in our life because nobody knew what to do.
And we all did what we were told, which is,
Right.
I think, remarkable as
Remarkable
well.
in America.
Everybody stayed home. We all followed the rules. And guess what? We came out of it.
And we did. But the people the folks that I spoke with yesterday were telling me, oh, but the conditions we're in today are far worse than what COVID was. And I don't know how you base that.
It was interesting. I love to walk and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about the fact that in the U.S., we are allowing politics to invade every aspect of our lives. Mm-hmm. As opposed to in other countries, yes, I mean, it's important to know what's going on, but unless you work in politics, you're probably better served by not allowing politics to ruin friendships, to enter into your daily conversations, to take everything that's said at face value and change your lifestyle because of it, or get very anxious because of some things that are said that might be taken back tomorrow. And I thought that was a really great.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And
theory.
but the thing that's different here in America is we have more control of our money than you do in other countries around the world.
True.
Where you go to Europe and most people are going to have a pension based upon the work that they have because of the large amount of taxes that they pay. There's womb-to-tomb health coverage and all of those other things. But here in America, very few people have a pension these days.
Right.
More people, you will get your Social Security, and yes, you're going to get your Social Security. But the bigger part of what you're going to need in retirement is going to come from your own personal savings. And which leads us to just a point that you brought up, Marion, which is, does money buy happiness? I mean, the more money we have, the more dollars we have, does that buy happiness?
And that it's a very interesting question. And again, one that's people have done a lot of work on, because so many, and we hear clients say this too, oh, if only I had this much more money, I could retire. And they get that much, let's say, oh, my target is $1 million and I can retire. They get that $1 million and they say, oh, well, now I need $2 million. So that target keeps moving.
Never enough.
Exactly. But Mark, along those lines, so, at a certain point, money can buy happiness. And that is if you don't have shelter, if you don't have enough food, if you can't clothe your children, then yes, more money, getting to that point where you can do all of that, afford decent living, and be able to feed your family every day, that does bring happiness.
Absolutely.
Once you reach that point, then more money doesn't necessarily bring happiness. But this got hit home to me. Why do people keep saying, oh, I need more, I need more, I need more? So think about this, and I don't know how you would answer this, but think about it.
Okay.
Would you rather be a person who's earning $150,000 a year when all of your friends and family and everyone around you are earning $100,000 a year, so you are the wealthiest? Mm-hmm. Or would you rather be earning $200,000 a year when everyone around you is earning $300,000 a year?
Well, that's an interesting question.
It's a tough question.
I think what really is interesting there, first of all, 150,000 from 100,000 is a 50% increase.
Yeah.
That's a 50% difference.
Right.
Yet 200 to 300 is actually also a 50% increase now that you think about it, from 200 to 300. But
yeah.
But
when you think of,
but on the other side, it's actually 100.
It's the 33%.
It's 33% increase.
Yeah.
You're going the other way.
Right.
But I think what's really interesting is watching the circle of friends that I'm with in understanding how they live their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because I know that, and we talk about this with a lot of people, oftentimes we adapt our spending dependent upon the circle of friends that we're with at that time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really what ends up happening. It isn't about how
Right.
much money we make, it's about how much money we spend. And we've always said this to people anyways. It's not how much, you could make $1 million a year.
Right.
If you are spending all $1 million and your friend that's making $150,000 is able to save money, they're probably doing better. They're probably better off. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that matters.
Well, I'll tell you, the majority of people polled on that kind of poll would rather be making the 150 when everyone else is making 100, because it's really in your mind. You want to be able to have more than your neighbor. It's not so much how much you have, it's more, I just want more. And that's, I think, what people get caught up in the trap of. They want to be able to spend like their neighbors. And nobody knows what your neighbor is, or your friends, or whatever. Nobody knows what they're making. So your point is very well taken, because you might be palling around with somebody who spends, $150,000 a year, is in debt every year.
Right.
You don't know that they're making enough to spend that.
Yeah.
So, that's the key. You want to live better than your neighbor.
Yeah, and I certainly want to put myself in a situation where I feel like I have to spend to keep up with everybody else.
Right.
To put myself in a more challenging financial situation.
Exactly.
It's an interesting question here.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to what you'd think on this podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's what we call financial advice in a language you can understand. If now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning and investment management needs, and you'd like to have conversations like this with Marion and I, we'd love to talk with you. Our phone number, 978-531-8108. That's 8108, or visit us on the web, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. Go to the bottom of any page. You can put in your name, your email address, and we'll send you our free weekly newsletter. Goes out to over 7,000 subscribers. It lands every Friday in your inbox, 10:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Or if you want to learn more about the types of clients we serve, our fees, the services we offer, some historical stuff about us. You want to know our story, anything and everything you want to know about Freedman Financial, you can find on the internet at freedmanfinancial.com. Once again, Freedman, that's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. Screwed that one up, but I tried. But that's okay. We will see you here again next week with more financial advice in a language you can understand. Have a great day, everybody.
Enjoy.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.